Greetings and salutations, David Duford here. I'm here with DeFord Insurance Group face-to-face trainer Joe Busalaki and DeFord Insurance Group agent Jane. They are here to tell us about their experience in mentorship, more specifically, and this is going to be really interesting, about how Jane went from working with DeFord Insurance Group with no mentorship, just our great training, standalone training, but then how the training and focus with mentorship with Joe in DeFord Insurance Group, after we made the transition from a business standpoint, has really just exponentially increased her sales results. And what I'm very curious to see is like what it actually has done, because there's a lot of agents out there who they may get good video training or good classroom training, but there's something about the one-on-one mentorship model that we've discovered at DeFord Insurance Group that just totally changes things. And so I'm hoping to get a good insight on how that actually is. So first of all, Jane, if you want to pop on, give us a quick little introduction about yourself, please.
Sure. Yes, I come from a teaching background. I got my license for insurance June 1st of 2022. Thought I joined an agency that would provide excellent training. And after about a month, I realized that was not the case. And on my own, searching for tricks of the trade, I came across David Duford, and the first video I watched was about how to know if you're in an MLM. And I discovered I was in an MLM. And after that, I was watching David Duford videos from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. and made the transition to Duford Agency.
Great. And we'll come back to you in a minute, kind of explore that transition and how you got into the mentorship program. But first, Joe, pop on here and give the group here a little introduction about yourself, please.
All right. Hey, my name is Joe Busalaki. Nice seeing everyone. Nice meeting you. I've been with the DeFord Insurance Group for 5 years now. Before that, I just had a long history in call center work, call center management. As far as insurance goes, the DeFord Insurance Group is all that I know. It has not always been easy peasy for me. There was a lot of times where I would work the system that Dave has in place, but then I would want to do my own thing. But then one day in my career with the agency, I had the brilliant idea of just doing the system in place that Dave has been training for years. And lo and behold, my numbers started to go way up. So we started doing some mentorship programs like this, and here we are now.
Yeah, and Joe originally was an agent, just an agent with us, and for many years now. And I approached him at the end of last year with the management opportunity, which is where he's at now. He trains he's one of the 3 trainers we have currently that trains our new agents with this mentorship program that you'll kind of learn more about if you're new here as we go through. So I want to cycle back and talk with you, Jane. And I always like to have this conversation first of all. And you brought it up. It's so important. There's a lot of people new on this call here. They don't understand that the business of insurance, probably 3 out of 4 agencies are MLM oriented. Can you explain a little bit about, as much as you'd like to, the MLM side of the business, kind of what you ran into that kind of gave you those vibes that your agency was an MLM, if anything that somebody can take away is how they can avoid this stuff?
Sure. For me, the biggest thing I saw was I was new to insurance. I was just trying to learn how, to approach people, what to say, follow some type of a protocol that would make sense and generate sales. But before I knew it, the agency was pushing, we're going to do 15 trips. We're going to go to San Diego, St. Louis, Charlotte, et cetera, and we want you to be at 3 of those meetings, and we want you to bring at least 3 people and get them signed up. And then they'll be under you, and then you'll make money off of them, et cetera, et cetera. And I had no desire to have anyone under me because I was just trying to take care of myself and figure out what to do. So that was my first indication.
Yeah, and this is so common in the business, and you need to be careful for those of you who are out there, is to just beware the agency you're joining. Just because they say they're in the insurance business doesn't mean that you learning how to sell insurance is their primary motive. What a lot of the cultures permeate from the top down is this idea that anybody with a pulse can join the agency. You can make a passive income override, as it's called, if you just recruit people to recruit, and then make it out like there's just money hand over fist made effortlessly in the business. Now, there is a lot of money to be made in the business, but it ain't effortlessly. And if you do it the wrong way, like most agents are going to fail. The failure rate in this business is 95%. And while it's not just the MLM side of that contributes to that, it's a large portion of it for sure. If you're looking to sell insurance, guys, make sure you're looking at agencies that are focused on selling, that will teach you the craft of selling. That is critical, because if you are getting from right away talk about building an agency, recruiting people on your social media profiles, and doing all that nonsense, you're going down the wrong path. And there's a lot of issues with it, and it usually doesn't benefit you. So just be aware of that. Okay. So you made the transition. You went down the proverbial black hole of DeFord Insurance Group videos. You eventually joined. And where I'm going with this, Jane, I'm really curious to see what it was like in your experience before and then after with the mentorship. So kind of tell us, what was it originally like when you got started working with us on the form of training we used to do, if you don't mind explaining?
Sure. Well, the videos, the calls we made daily were always excellent and motivating, but they lacked that one-on-one hand-holding, so to speak, component. And so my approach to selling was a little random. I'd get in my car and I'd get started and I'd keep at it. But my structure and my system weren't always so effective or productive.
Right. So you found value in the training and the classroom side of things,
Yes,
but
absolutely.
what was missing was some of that, as you would say, I don't know if you so much need hand holding as it was just kind of accountability, personalized direction, that kind of thing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Accountability it was the biggest factor.
Yeah. And it's funny. I've run my insurance agency since 2013. I've recruited thousands of agents. And, I never wanted to have employees, just never wanted to bother with it. And I always thought, well, if the agent's going to be successful, they'll follow the videos, they'll go through the training, they'll call me, text me when they need help. And to an extent, that's true. But what I recognized at the end of last year is there is definitely a portion of agents, and it's a large portion, that if they don't get the benefits of one-on-one training, accountability, mentorship, they have a really high chance of failure, if not failure, not maximizing their total output. There is a part of this business that you really can't automate, right? Technology and automation is the big thing, but you don't see automation in, the NFL or any kind of sports. What do you see? You see hands-on coaches that enforce and reinforce the fundamentals, because there's just some things I would think, Joe, you can pop into this too, because I like your perspective as well. There are just some things that you need to have somebody's attention and individualized consulting or coaching to course correct. Because sometimes we just can't figure this stuff out on our own. We just like to think we do. But all the while we're making some major error or we're not seeing things in the proper light that a coach really clarifies. Joe, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, definitely. The thing about mentorship is that it really keeps you grounded on the core fundamentals of what are needed in this business. It talks about the training, what we need to do as far as activity, what we need to do as far as lead flow. And then we hone in on the things that are like really, really important. I think the thing with a lot of agents is that there's, you have a lot of freedom and autonomy, and there's all these things going on. There's all these moving parts, and it's hard to shuffle them and to prioritize them into like, what is really making money here? And a lot of things are important, but there's just some core things that are like just really, really what we need to focus in on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. And if we can get that stuff down, then everything will just start falling in place. So I think it's just the main thing of being grounded, of knowing what needs to be done, and the accountability just to get those things done.
Yeah, and I think I would suggest even more now than ever, one-on-one mentorship is and coaching is absolutely vital. I mean, all you have to do is get on YouTube or Facebook or any social media, and you'll see somebody who's done well in the business purport what they think you should do. Maybe they'll say you shouldn't buy leads, you should just do all referrals, and they look successful. And then you multiply that exponentially, and you've got all these people from all over telling you their form of doing business, and it all sounds good, and it's very confusing. And confused people generally don't do much because they don't even know where to start. And having that kind of one-on-one specific advice to keep you in your lane, man, that is important these days. I mean, even when I started in 2011, there wasn't, dozens of YouTube influencers and final expense like there are now. And I was just told to buy leads and follow the system. And thankfully, at least for a period of time, I did. Because if I didn't, I was told to do this or that, who knows? Maybe I would have lost the opportunity. So I say all this because it has a direct impact on new agents. You're going to go out there if you've never sold before it, and you're going to be like, these people are rejecting me. They're being disrespectful sometimes. Most of the time I'm hearing no, not as often as I'm hearing yes. It's debilitating psychologically sometimes. And again, having somebody in that corner to help you stay the track, I think is really important. So I want to come back to you, Jane. What happened to make you want to make the move from the old way we used to do things without mentorship to the new model? Because you kind of approached me as that being kind of something you wanted to do. What was your motivation behind that?
Well, when you first sent the survey out to ask who would be interested, it sounded very appealing. And I was interested, but then I had a 2-month period where I was sick and I was just sort of out of the game.
Yeah, right.
But I was watching the production board, and I noticed that all of these new people who were working with trainers were just blowing it up. I mean, day after day after day, I was just seeing all these new names with high APs. And once I was in a position to go back in the field, I made that decision that I needed a trainer.
Great. Excellent. So you're kind of watching it from the sidelines while you're recovering
Absolutely.
from what you had. And then it kind of just made even more sense because the results are there.
Right.
So let's talk about the difference. Again, you're not going to hurt my feelings, by the way. I want to hear the difference of, how the training was better. Because I tell people now, like, the way we're doing training at DeFord Insurance Group, it's way better than it was just me on my own back in 2022. Like Joe, Tim, David, they have just enhanced things for so many more agents that I know if it wasn't there, these agents wouldn't be getting the same results that they are now. It's that impactful. Can you kind of explain how the mentorship has impacted you and how it's influenced your business overall?
Well, sure. Well, first of all, I would just say, there's only one of you, David. So
Yes.
There's only so much that can go around. And you add Joe and Tim and David, and you make more impact. But as far as my interaction with Joe, he held my feet to the fire. The repetition in the daily training, the accountability factor, the one-on-one conversations. All of it together. But I think just mainly the accountability.
Right. Well, can you give us some examples of, because a lot of this stuff is very, how do I say, intangible, right? It's not like that we have a magical carrier that lets you write more business, but there's these things like coaching, accountability that are absolutely beneficial that we know measurably are helping, but are kind of hard to put your finger on. Can you kind of give me an example of how accountability working with Joe has helped you sell more?
Sure. Well, initially, the first week, the criteria was to send 10 video recordings of the script and 10 of the door knock or something like that, maybe 20 daily. And that repetition, because truthfully, I didn't know the script verbatim and as well as I should have known from the onset. But that in itself helped me learn the script like I needed to know it. And then just, the advice he would give me along the way, ordering leads, which leads to order. And I was doing that before, but I wasn't doing it on a consistent basis. If I wasn't completely out of leads, then I wasn't ordering new ones.
Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing because, it's like nothing here. And you've heard all this stuff from me before, right? It's like, you got to buy leads every week. You got to practice the script. And it's not that, it's like, that, but then when you have somebody that actually speaks with you consistently one-on-one and reminds you of that's the difference maker. That's the difference, because then you now are accountable to somebody to keep your own promise to yourself.
Right.
I'm going to do well in this business.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about, guys. Like, nobody does this in this business. I mean, I've very rarely seen any kind of, structured true mentorship program. Most people, when they say training or mentorship, it's here's a few videos. Don't call me. I might talk to you in a week if you got a case, if ever. Like, they don't want you bothering them. But like David He said, our other face-to-face trainer, this is the old way of doing things. This is old school. This whole idea of developing and coaching you, because the outcome of it is like, you were normally writing about 3 or 4 policies a week in the field. And then the last week, or was it week 4? I think you wrote 7,500 in premium. Mm-hmm. And Jane's face-to-face, door knocking, using Facebook leads. I mean, just out there seeing the people, and all of this culmination of accountability, of having somebody in your corner to help you. This is the outcome, right? Is you just are more dialed in, you're more focused, you're more excited. And it's just this exponential effect that happens and results in many cases with just more business sold. Joe, do you want to add anything to that? Because I think you're the one actually, and I'll give you credit where credit's due. You're the one that like, Dave, I'm going to make everybody send me daily or whatever your frequency was of recordings of the script and recordings of the, you take this stuff like seriously. And we've had to get rid of some people who wouldn't take it and say seriously, because we know if they can't even follow directions, how are they going to get out there and be successful? Can you kind of talk about your mentality of how you take a new agent on and then coach them and kind of where you lead them?
Yeah, I try to make it really simple. The first week, we just got to own these scripts. We got to own them like we're actors and actresses. And this is what I know. I just know that if you know these scripts like the back of your hand, like you just like second nature stuff, then it's going to it's just going to, speak of the word enhance, it's just going to enhance everything. And it's going to be like this foundation that is going to make you take off. So we just make it really simple. I like people to send me recording because I want them to really get it, like Jane said, because a lot of times someone will look over the script, but then when you have to say it over and over again, you start to realize, oh, wait a minute, I don't know this as much as I think I should, And then I think a lot of it just has to do with my call center background, like scripts, appointment. Like, I just know, I know the value of knowing, memorizing, and owning a script. So we just go through that stuff over and over again. We go over the main questions that it takes to close an insurance deal. And we focus on the door knocking. This is a simple business, but the hard part is, we always say it's simple, but it's not easy. And we'll all clap and say, yeah, that's right. But I think what people don't realize, part of the hard part is sitting here doing the monotonous rehearsing of this stuff over and over till you're bored, till it's just coming out of your ears and you just are sick of it. That's when you got to keep pushing. That's what really refines the agent to really go to the next level. So we just keep it simple and we keep on rehearsing and just drills, man, over and over again.
Yeah. So, and thank you. I mean, you've done a phenomenal job with our people and just kind of course correcting, like with Jane and enhancing her results with your processes. It's just been incredible. And we've seen this time and again with agents that are brand new, or even the ones who've been with us forever, that recognize the power of mentorship. And it's just been awesome. Jane, last word.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, David. I just want to say one thing, because I have to say this to Jane's credit. Jane is an awesome student. And that's what really is the X factor with the successful agents that come my way, is the ones that really want it and are really coachable. But I can tell they have raw determination. Those are the ones that really make it. So I just want to give, Jane had all of that from the gate.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, thank you, Jane, because you're humble, you're coachable, you know, you allow us to help you, right? And that's hard to find. It really is. Talk to me and Joe about it. Finding people that will actually do what we say is really difficult because, you know, we all think differently and it's hard and we get it. But that's the component you have to have. I think for anything and success in life, y'all, is, you know, you got to recognize you don't know everything and there are people who know more than you. And the best thing you can do is shut your brain down and just do what they say and give it some time, you know? So Jane, last to you, and then we'll take some questions from the audience about anything. It can be about questions about what you've heard today. It can be questions about anything, insurance sales and marketing. We're going to leave this wide open after this. Jane, just any last tips of advice you'd have for any agents looking to get involved in insurance sales to give themselves the best chances of success?
Well, I would definitely say get in the training program. Definitely. And set your sights high. You know, I had an old mentor in college and her favorite saying was, shoot for the stars and you'll at least hit the top of the fence post. Shoot for the top of the fence post and you'll stay on the ground. Right. So definitely know what your goals are, know why you're out there getting doors slammed in your face. Joe, I took his advice of you're not doing your job unless the door gets slammed in your face, you know, so that's not a bad thing. You know, this no is just closer to the next yes. Study, don't give up, you know. If you want to go home, I mean, there's a fine line between giving up because, you know, someone shut a door in your face and you're just sick of it and you go home, and taking a break because, you know, you're just exhausted and you need a day down to rest and get ready for the next day. There's a fine line there and you have to know what it is. And the last thing I'd like to say is, I really appreciate people who speak straight. You know, I was raised by a mother who did not mince words. And Joe's one of those guys, you know, he says it like it is. And I'd much rather have that because he pointed out my insufficiencies. He picked up where I was weak and in many cases why I wasn't making sales. And so that was instrumental in helping me make changes in order to change my sales quota around. Right.
And that's, yeah. Joe is brutally honest. and that's exactly what you want from a good coach, because they have to hold you accountable, because so often for ourselves, we let ourselves off the hook, right? So you got to have somebody who's not going to take your crap. And Joe's that guy for you.
Yeah, Joe's that guy.
All right. Well, Jane, thank you so much. I appreciate your business. And I'm so glad that this shift in the mentorship approach has been a bountiful one. It certainly seems like it has been. And Joe, thank you so much for taking care of our agents and showing them the ropes and guiding them in the right direction for success.